Part 4, clutch and clutch cable adjustment. Oh yeah, it's thunder and lightning. Since I can't go for a ride, and it's thunder and lightning out here today, and I do love this kind of weather, believe it or not. I just can't ride in it. Well, I could, but you know, I'm crazy enough to do it. We're gonna go ahead and just go ahead and knock out the clutch adjustment and the clutch cable adjustment. I'm gonna show you how to do that stuff. It shouldn't take too long. It's a pretty easy thing to do. And once I explain how it's done, I'm sure you guys will be able to do it on your own. Let's get started. All right, to do your clutch adjustment, first thing you gotta do is take off this cover. Now, there's one slight problem with this cover is there's a bolt back here that gets in it's in the way. This is in the way of this bolt, so you can't get to it. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take this off first, and then we'll go ahead and remove the cover to the clutch pack. All right, to remove this footrest, I'm going to take off this one bolt right here, which is a 5/16 Allen head bolt. There we go. I'm just going to take it completely off. You might as well just get it out of the way. It's only one bolt. Now we're going to set it aside. All right, now that we have access here, this cover's going to come off. All right, with your T27 Torx, we're going to remove all these bolts. There shouldn't be any oil dripping out of here no matter what you do when you take this cover off, whether it's on a jack or not. Now you just want to hold the cover. This is the last screw, so hold the cover in place. Don't let it drop on you. And it should just pop right off easy. 11/16 socket. You should be able to release that nut. That's all you gotta do. Just tap on the ratchet and that nut will get released. This one's kind of in bad shape. It's been through the ringer, it looks like. But anyway, your nut's released, okay? That's the lock nut. Just release it, back it out. Don't take it off, you just back it out until it's flush. That way it gives you plenty of room to play with this. All right, this is all we're gonna do over here for now. Next thing we're gonna do is we're gonna loosen the clutch cable. That one's gonna be right in front. All right, your clutch cable's right here. This is the adjuster. You'll see like a rubber boot like this one has. What you're gonna do is you're gonna pull that rubber boot all the way out. You're gonna see a locking nut and then the cable piece that also spins. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna release that locking nut and we're gonna put some slack all the way down in there. This one happens to be a 12mm and a 13. I mean, it could be any size, a 1/2 inch, depends on your model. All right, we're gonna back that lock nut all the way down. We're gonna turn the cable in. I'll turn this screw so it goes into the cable, which gives the cable a ton of slack. It's tedious and it takes a while. This cable's in great shape. It's brand, I put it in last year, so it moves pretty easy. If this is all rusted up and stuff, you might want to put some penetrating fluid on there. You know, you might even want to do that like once a year or every time you adjust this, because it'll keep it, you know, from rusting. It'll help anyways. All right, now let's check our slack. As you see, this is a clutch lever, and we got a ton of slack in there. All right. So it's not even doing anything right now. So that's what you want. You want plenty of slack in that clutch cable so it doesn't do anything. That leaves the clutch pack itself ready to be adjusted. All right, get a close-up here. All right. What you're gonna do here with this rod is you're gonna use a 7/32 inch Allen wrench. I like to unscrew it, turn it left about 2 or 3 times. All right. Now there's a rod that goes through here to the other side of the bike, which your clutch lever / cable, when it's pulled in, will press on that rod, pushing on this out, releasing your clutch. Now to adjust this clutch, you're gonna slowly, one finger, all right? Just use one finger. Turn this rod in, or this screw right here, the adjusting screw. Turn it in to get rid of all the play in the rod. All right, you don't want to push it in too far. You want just a little pressure. Let me turn this around so you can see what I'm talking about. See how it stops? There you go. There you go. Now you're touching the rod. Once you're in that position, you got slight pressure on the rod. Now if you keep cranking this, it's going to crank. It's going to push that rod in. It's going to compress it even more. You don't want that. You want it just to where it starts touching. Just use the Allen wrench. You know, this is a small Allen wrench, but if you had a bigger Allen wrench, that pressure of the Allen wrench is enough to turn this enough to tighten that rod up and get rid of all the play. And then just go about 1/8 of an inch more. And just leave it there. Now that you're in a position where it needs to be, okay, it's seated, we're going to go back a half a turn to a full turn. So half a turn to a full turn. Let's make this 6 o'clock. All right? 6 o'clock. We're going to go a half a turn up to a full turn. Now, if you're doing a lot of parking lot turns, a lot of U-turns on the road, tricks and stuff like that, you want to go a full turn. If you're an average rider who's not doing any kind of tricks or parades to where you're riding the clutch in the what do you call that zone, the friction zone, then all you need is a half a turn. All right. If you do a lot of tricks where you're riding in the friction zone quite a bit, go a full turn back. If you're just regular riding, no tricks and stuff, half a turn is enough. So if you're just a regular Joe Schmo riding down the road with this bike, turn or whatever, half a turn backwards is good. So what we're doing now is we're releasing that rod. We're coming away from the rod. We're unscrewing this adjustment screw. Since I like to do a lot of practice stuff like figure eights, U-turns in the roads and stuff, I'm going to go 3/4 of a turn. That's just me. That's my preference. Now you're going to take this nut and you're going to tighten it. Now here's the thing. That lock nut only takes 10 to 12 Newton meters, which is nothing. It really is nothing. So what you're going to want to do, you're going to put a wrench on there. You're going to hold the adjustment with your Allen wrench. And you're just going to snug this. That's it. All set. That's all you need. That's all you need on that. If you don't believe me, I'll show you on a torque wrench. I'm going to put the torque wrench on that just to show you. 10 Newton meters is right there. It is nothing. I'm going to show you. Look. Doesn't even move the clutch. 10 Newton meters does not even move the clutch. If I go 12, it'll move the clutch. So here's a good way to know that you're doing that without a torque wrench the right way. Keep your Allen wrench on it. Put your combo wrench on it. If you can get an offset combination wrench, one that goes like that and it goes down and out, that actually works better on these. So if you want to get a feel for how tight this should be, before you even do this, put your wrench on there and push on it until this starts turning the clutch. There you go. Now you know how tight it is. So how tight it should be. So you got a feel for it. So when you do your adjustment, you'll know just how tight to put it without having a torque wrench. Just remember, snug it up. That's all you need to do. You snug this up. You don't need to go crazy. Looks like someone, the previous owner went crazy on it at one point and stripped the outer edge of the nut. So you don't need all that. Now once you're done, we're going to go to the cable. this is done here. This clutch pack is adjusted. Now, as you know, the cable has a lot of play in it. So we're gonna fix the cable play. Or we're gonna adjust the clutch cable, I should say. We're at the clutch cable. Now what we're gonna do is we're gonna bring it back out. If you can't do it by hand, because yours is, you know, a little older and stuff, the adjustment nut, then you're gonna need, you know, use your wrench. Basically, we're just gonna take it out, all right? Unscrew the adjuster. Make this longer so it takes up the slack in the cable. You can see I have the clutch all the way in, or as far in as it's gonna go. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna pull that, turn that nut. Okay, I'm gonna turn that nut till this is right about here. And then I'll show you how to check the gap on that, or the tension. All right, so we're gonna go. Just keep unscrewing. All right, it's getting a little difficult for me, so I got to use the wrench. Okay. What we're going to measure is the gap between the cable ferrule, which is the end piece here, is the lip. That gap, that lip to the end of where the lever housing is what you want to be a certain spec. So that gap's supposed to be 1/6 to 1/8 of an inch. All right. So what you do is you work the cable a little bit, the lever, the clutch cable lever, and pull out the cable. Now I can see, just from looking at that, that's too much. All right, I can see that's too much of a gap without even having to measure it. I'll put the ruler on here. This little gap right here is 1/16 of an inch. That's what we're looking at, not that. So that's about too much. That's about almost a 1/2 inch right there. So we're going to tighten up the cable adjuster a little bit more. And this is what you're going to do. You're going to go back and forth. You tighten this a little bit, and then you check your gap, or the distance between the cable and the clutch cable housing. So I like to work the cable, the clutch lever a little bit, and then you pull on the cable, and we still have too much. That's just way too much. So that's more than 1/8 right there. It's just over 1/4 probably, doing it by eye. So back again. Go back again, do some more unscrewing of the adjuster to take up some of that slack. Now let's go check it again. And this is a little tedious process, but that's what you got to do to get it right. Now we pull on the cable, what do we got? Well, just a little bit more than 1/8. So I'm going to give it a couple more turns, and I think that's going to do it. Let's go check it. Pump the cable, squeeze the clutch lever a few times. Now let's check it. Beautiful. Can you guys see that? That's roughly 1/8 of an inch clearance right there. So that gives it plenty of room. So as the clutch expands, when it heats up, that's what that slack's for. As the clutch expands, because it will when it heats up, gets the operating temperature, there's play in that cable to allow it to fully engage. Now we're going to lock it in. You take that lock nut, You're gonna run it back up to the top, and we're gonna lock it in place. You're just gonna snug this. You don't have to go Hercules on this, okay? Okay. That's it. That's all you gotta do. Don't forget, like I said, if yours is in rough shape, use some penetrating oil on that before you start. And then you gotta slide the cover back down over everything. This will keep it from, you know, dirt and moisture getting in there and rusting it out even faster. Okay, that's it. She's done. One last check. Pump it up a few times. I'll squeeze the clutch lever. And let's take a look at our clearance. Beautiful. That looks awesome. That's about 1/8 of an inch right there. Just under it, I would assume, but I'm guessing. But like I said, if you got a ruler, you can measure it if you're not good at it. You can measure it. I mean, we're talking 1/8 of an inch, okay? There's a 1/2 inch. There's your 1/4. There's your 1/8. That's 1/8 of an inch right there. Really not a whole lot. So half of that is a 1/16. So we're right in the money. And she feels awesome. That's one thing. It's one thing you're gonna notice when you do this. Your clutch is gonna feel so much better. All right, so one thing I wanted to tell you guys, before you take this cover off, make sure you know which way is up. Take a marker. I already marked this one, but you would take this off. Don't mark it on the outside. You don't want to screw up the chrome. Take it off, remove your gasket, and mark which one is up. See this one? That's the one that's up. So I marked it with a magic marker, a Sharpie, so I know that one's up. That way it goes back on the same way. Alright, so if you were done with this, you'd put all the bolts in and torque them down. We're not doing that right now. I'm just going to leave the cover in place with one bolt so nothing gets in there. That is it for that. If that was the only thing you're going to do, you, like I said, you put that cover back on, put the screws in there, use some blue Loctite, and torque them down. But that's not everything I'm going to do. If I have some time later on, I'm going to come back out here and I'm going to finish the final video for you guys, which is changing the primary oil. This is on my Ultra Classic, but this actually applies to like Road Kings, Electra Glides, pretty much all the same. The engines, the trannies, this is a 2004, so anything around that year is pretty much going to be the same with the 88 cubic inch. Don't you love it when you're interrupted on a video? Gotta love it. Alright, take care, leave some likes and some comments, subscribe, do what you gotta do. Alright guys, thanks everybody. Bye bye.